This is Sky Blues Extra.
Hello and welcome to another Sky Blues Extra Live. Unfortunately, Coventry City have fallen to Bournemouth at home at St Andrews. An absolute roller coaster of a game, Dean.
Yeah, where do you start? I mean, I'll talk about anything else other than the match if I'm perfectly honest. Yeah, we weren't at the races, was we? Right from the first minute, we just looked tired, disinterested, lethargic. Not one player springs to mind tonight that had a really, really decent game. It was just an odd match, and we've said a few times we're probably going to get a lot of these matches where we're probably just not at the races in this division.
Of course.
I'm
the comments are already flying in, Dean.
I'm
sure that there's going to be a lot of people wanting to join us this evening. It's really easy to get involved in the conversation this evening with Sky Blues Extra Live. All you need to do is drop a comment using the platform that you're on. That's either Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, or do join us actually. So there's a link that we've put out on Twitter already, but it's pretty straightforward. It's just sbelive.me. That is down there as well. You can see that. Do come on, share your thoughts. There's been some massive talking points, and especially for a start, the red card. Obviously going in at half time 1-1. It was a really positive sort of flurry of performance at the end of the sort of first half. But there's so many talking points here, Dean. Where do we start? It almost feels probably the wrong thing to do to bring the starting line up at this stage, because we should just get straight into it and talk about those big points. And first of all was the goal that we conceded. Very quick, intricate play by Bournemouth, some really nice football, probably football that you would not have seen last year, let's be honest. Very quick, gave them too much time, almost probably too much respect. A great finish though by I think Solanke.
No, it was Lerma. Lerma scored the first
Lerma,
goal.
of course, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're sort of the makers of our own downfall in that first goal again, just giving the ball away sloppily. We're trying to play out from the back, and you can't do that when you've got three Bournemouth players pretty much on the edge of the box on a goal kick. You just can't play out from the back. We're not Manchester City, we're not Liverpool. We can't do it. So why even try? Just get the ball up the field and let's go for a second ball. It's times like that we just need to change our way of playing. But yeah, for the goal, we give the ball away cheaply again. There's a little flick into Solanke. He lays it off. And, I mean, it's an incredible finish by Lerma. You can't take that away from him. It's an absolute rocket of a goal. But fair play to him. But let's talk about Jordan Shipley there, because he was in no man's land. Lerma's his man, I'm afraid. He's 6 yards off him and walks behind him. That's not good enough, I'm afraid. That's not good enough. Yeah,
it did look, I mean, we've spoke about this many a time, Dean. Jordan Shipley has grown through the ranks at Coventry City, and he's had a really great career at Coventry. That's not, no bones about it. You think of the goals that he scored, some brilliant goals, finals at Wembley. He's played phenomenal for Coventry City, but it's a big jump for these players. I mean, they only brought it up at the end of the sort of footage, actually, at the end of the game. But let's not forget the massive, huge gaping hole in finances between these two clubs for a start. That's something that we need to, these guys were playing in the Premiership, the biggest and best league in the world 3 or 4 weeks ago. And we were playing in League One. Okay, we played exceptionally well, but even in League One, there was times that we struggled. I even look back at Rochdale away. Yes, we beat them, but there was times we were completely under the cosh against Rochdale. And now we've come up against Bournemouth.
Listen, I understand that the golfing class between the two teams is going to be there. We're talking, they were bringing on 15 million, 20 million pound substitutes. That's not even the price of our team. So there is a golfing class, but there's nothing stopping players showing commitment.
Well, it's already been a very busy period, Dean, on the comments. So let's bring them on. There's one from Scott, first of all, which he said he's not too bothered about the result. You may have to scroll up about that, but he's not too bothered about the result. But having lost Gustavo, is it time to buy Liam Walsh? It doesn't look to me an option. You've got days left in the window, haven't you?
I think the Liam Walsh situation's over. It's done.
I'm sure loans will go on for a bit longer, Dean, but
Yeah, and we just won't be able to afford him. It's as simple as that. Okay, people are probably seeing. Was it in the Sun newspaper today that Joyce Sapella's the 7th richest owner in the Championship?
Yeah,
she's not going to give us that money. That's her own. That's her own money. She's not going to put it into the club. So
no, exactly.
I think
let's not let's remember the owners are a part of a fund. They will have their fingers in lots of different pies, and the football club is one of them. And let's not forget that we've gone out and spent this year. We've got Amer, who will, I'm sure, go on to speak about later on this evening, but they have spent some money and they have back Robins, and you look at Godden, who came in the season before and propelled us up to the Championship. It's been a fantastic period in the history of Coventry City recently, hasn't it, Dean?
Yeah, it has, and we shouldn't forget about that. We're in a much more difficult division now against teams who have got much more financial backing and players and squads that are 10 times better than ours. It's as simple as that, really. So, we're going to be competing down the bottom end of the Championship. Let's not forget about that. Teams like Bournemouth are looking to win the league. There's a vast difference between our two teams. But for me, you can still show effort, you can still show commitment and put a bit of fight and desire into it. And I just didn't see that from us tonight.
Sure, and we've got, like I say, so many comments in from you Sky Blues fans, and do keep adding them. We'll get through them all, but a great comment here from Elaine Ward. Not so much outplayed technically, more outwitted. We lacked experience. Shipley was nowhere, nor was Allen. We missed Kelly. He would have cut out 2 of their goals. I think a really good point here is probably technically, I think they were a lot quicker than us. They play that pass in, and you could see that we were pretty much off the pace from the go, and that is just that golf, like you've mentioned there already, in technical ability, I guess. But makes a really good point there about Kelly. He does give us that anchor, doesn't he? He will sit and he will protect that back three. Obviously with the wing backs as well, he will protect that. Whereas I'm not sure you had a player that was going to sort of roll their sleeves up tonight and do that dirty work. And they may have been looking at each other. You've got some new players coming in. You've got Amer, you've got Sheaf. They may well be looking at each other and saying, who's going to pick up this man? Who's going to chase him down?
Listen, we need an experienced head in there from the start this evening. I think not playing Kelly was a mistake from the off. I just didn't like the way we set up, because we wasn't playing the three up front as we normally were, because Shipley was back in sort of midfield 3. So I just thought it was a mistake, because if we're going to play 3 in the middle, then why not play Kelly?
Yeah, of course.
It didn't make any sense to me. Like, Shipley's had 2 really poor games this season. Kelly's available. We look a much better team when Kelly's in the side. It happened last year. We went through that little period in September, October. We went through a lull where Kelly wasn't in the side. And we only got draws, or we would defeat it. We should have won games, and if we had an experienced head in there, we probably would have.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's happened again tonight.
It's an interesting one from Nige here. He said about a case of bullying. I think this is a really good point, Dean. I absolutely cannot believe how much Bournemouth got away with today. I really can't. And it's a bit like everyone says about Fergie time, everyone says about Man United. Bournemouth, they got absolutely everything this evening, didn't they? Yeah,
the referee was pretty poor from the word go, really. I mean, the Ostergaard yellow card, there was a foul on Hammer literally 2 seconds before.
In the same
play, and the challenge was even harder than Ostergaard, and Ostergaard got the ball. He took the man out,
incredible.
But it was poor. And then Lerma had 2 really bad challenges, and he didn't even get a talking to.
Yeah, I mean, going into this game, we highlighted it in the Sky Blues Extra preview that we put out, and great words by Matt, who writes them for us every week. And he put out there about the fact that actually the referee's he's had 2 games and he's booked 4 players in both of those fixtures. So you knew there were going to be cards tonight, and you knew he was a ref that sometimes will maybe make the game a little bit about them. And he's certainly done that. Without moving on to it too quickly, Dean, I think it's probably the question on everyone's lips and what's actually happened there. But Amer, who has been booked twice in 3 games, has now gone on to be sent off. I can't even say it without. Yeah, I mean, I can't even say it without not a raised smile, because if it's as serious as perhaps people were talking about on Twitter, well, we don't know if that is. We don't know if that's the case, but there is an alleged, apparently, of him potentially spitting, and if that's the case, it's not going to be a free game ban. It's going to be even longer than that, minimum 5.
It's minimum 8 games this season.
8.
The rules were changed for spitting, and it has to go to a judge, like a EFL judge. So it could be even more games. I mean, I saw the incident, and I sort of turned my head quickly. I goes, "Oh, did he spit there?" I don't know if he was spitting or he was trying to shout. So you don't know what he was trying to do. I texted my dad. I said, "Oh, was he just spat there?" And
a lot of people are seeming to say that this is the problem. Now, let's bit by bit take that incident down, because I think that's something that, and Sky Blues fans, please do comment us from what you're perhaps seeing in the replays and what you're seeing, because of course we're live on air and we're not got the ability to continue watching that. But clearly, the foul's been committed, an absolutely disgrace, if I'm honest, in terms of the tackle. It was an absolute shocking tackle. It was only a booking, of course, but it was the way he went in, the way that it was slowing down the play. But then, to come across to Amer and basically brushed him in the face, pushed him away from the referee to have a word, and that's where it got serious, Dean.
Yeah, and to be honest, Dave, you say about it's only a yellow card. It could be much more than a yellow card. The referee's got leniency to give a red card if the opponent is doing a deliberate foul to endanger a player.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. That's one of the most reckless challenges I think I've ever seen.
It was
absolutely disgusting.
But in the nature of the game as well,
because
obviously he's getting away from him. There was some momentum building, and he's come out and just absolutely slammed into him. But what do we? There's nothing really from the barge into Amer when he's gone to talk to the ref. He's walked over to the ref. Yes, he's upset, but his colleague's just absolutely split in half near enough. So of course he's going to be animated, and to come across and sort of push him in the face. I think we've got a guest actually, Dean, waiting. We?
Should we bring Glenn in?
Yeah, let's bring Glenn in and talk to him.
Hi guys, how are you?
Good evening.
Yeah, not too bad. How's things, Glenn? How did you see that incident for a start?
I would want to talk about the one a bit earlier on Lerma on Shipley that he let go, and then he booked Ostergaard for a very similar challenge, and Lerma was totally out of control, and that's not a yellow card. I just think he didn't impose himself on the game, and like you said, I always thought Bournemouth were quite a good little passing side and quite a nice
classy
side to watch. Classy. Yeah, they were very dark arts, I think is the word that Mark Robbins uses on it. So I think Hamer is probably going to be quite lucky, because I think on one of the clips you see it looks like he spat at Cook, so he'll get a lengthy ban if he has.
And just to take that to there, do you think the referee needed to do something earlier on in the game? Now, we know he's a referee that will give out cards, but do you think that's something that he could have imposed himself, like you said, on the game a bit more earlier on?
Yeah, I mean, if that had been, if Ostergaard had done the challenge before Lerma, I'd have said Ostergaard should have got booked.
Yeah.
But when you can't book one and not book the other, in the same way with Cook's swung his arm out, got involved when he has had no need, and Hamer slapped him. Has he spat at him? It's open for debate whether he has or hasn't, but you can't do one and not the other. And is swinging your arm in someone's face worse than gently slapping somebody?
Yeah.
It's not.
Hamer's going to have to learn, though, isn't he? He showed he's got a little bit of a temper. He's a bit of a short fuse, but he'll have to learn. Minimum, we're going to be without him for 3 matches now, so he's put a massive hole in this team, and we've got the likes of Swansea and Blackburn, where we're going to need a bit of guile in the midfield, and now we've lost probably our main attacking threat from that point. So that's a big hole, a big gap in this team now.
I was more disappointed with him not going in on the challenge on, I think it was Gosling for the third goal, where he just seemingly.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's because he's been told not to tackle, but he should have just smashed him. And if he got booked, he got booked. But it was just you can't let players.
I think you're right.
100
You're
games in the
absolutely right,
Premiership.
Glenn. The aggression that obviously Amir's shown throughout is originally 3 and 4 performances so far for the Sky Blues. You would put money on him, wouldn't you? And ending that attack there, and of course he didn't. But like you say, maybe he's been told. We spoke on the podcast of whether he's going to pick a yellow card up, get a telling off by Robbins, then pick another yellow card up, and perhaps that's what was in the back of his mind. Was there anything that you thought about the Sky Blues that was positive tonight? Anything that you would take away from that fixture?
I think the positive was, I think we matched them at times during the game as passing the ball around. We played some beautiful football, some great switches of play. I think the downside was, I think they just outworked us, and efforted us. And I think there was a few too many people who were passengers. Which you wouldn't have said that last season. We pretty much always put up a fight no matter what. And I think we just had a bit too many people who just kind of went a bit through the motions.
Game passed them by, and it probably,
Sheaf probably being the classic example that I think he pinged a great ball for Giles, and then I don't think he did anything else besides win the penalty. And even then, he was a bit lucky with that because I think the guy just dived in.
I agree. I agree. He sort of nicked it past him, didn't he? And it got there before the player, and it is obviously a penalty. Great penalty by Matty Godden, who's obviously scored again for the Sky Blues in the Championship and continues that scoring run that he's been on, and it's still looking very impressive. Giles again had a good game, didn't he? I think in times he sort of was getting forward and looked a danger man. But I think that midfield, Glenn, that felt like it was something that perhaps had something missing. Do you think that was Kelly?
I think what we need to find a way that's going to work at Championship level. I'm not convinced that the box will work with the players that we have available at the moment. I think O'Hare is looking absolutely class at this level, but whoever plays with him alongside him doesn't seem to be of that standard, be it Allen, be it Shipley. They're not doing what they did last season for us, and it's whether he gambles and goes 2 up top and leaves O'Hare, but then you've kind of not got as much creativity and ball carrying in the centre midfield like we had last season, where we had Walsh and Allen who could drive with it, and O'Hare. You're going to end up playing Kelly and Sheaf probably for the next 3 games, which is probably going to make us more solid. But are we going to have
lose that
bit
sort
of
of
now
attacking?
I agree.
And I think you're right.
Godden tonight was absolutely awful. Godden got next to no service at all, really, and you can't play like that at this level, because we just give the ball over to them too much. We just looked hurried, and we were just trying to force the play, whereas last season we were relaxed and more in control of games.
Yeah, of course. And Glenn, before we let you go this evening, let's what I would like to ask you about is going forward. Obviously, it's going to be a really, really interesting period now. We've got an international break. The lads are going to be able to recoup and recover, but we're going to come back, obviously, with a big hole in the middle of the park. Obviously, Amir, which is going to leave a lot of that creativity missing. How do you see that going now? What would you be doing if you were Mark Robbins?
Well, we've got Brentford. I think it's Brentford away is the first one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Indeed, yeah.
I think you gamble and you play Godden and Walker and try and cause them trouble. Or even if you don't want to risk Walker, you put Bakker up front just as an out ball that you've got, and you bring Kelly in for Hamer, and then it's Shipley drops out to bring in Bakker or Walker. I think we're getting to the stage. Those sort of games, Brentford, it's a free hit. If we get anything, it's a bonus. I think Robbins picked a team thinking that Bournemouth were going to play 1 up front and 1 behind like they did, and they threw a curveball by playing 2 up top, and I think it kind of we played into their hands a bit. But
what do you think was the reason that Shipley came in this evening? Do you think that was to give us a little bit more physicality maybe in that middle section, or?
I don't know.
It's a very interesting one, isn't it?
Well, for the first 25 seconds, Shipley went straight on to Dan Gosling. Straight away.
Yeah.
As soon as he started the match, I thought, oh, he's there as the man mark, and then let the other two deal with Lerma. But then after that, Shipley was like that all game, just looking around, what's going on. He just passed him by. He was only in there for one reason, just to stifle out any opportunity in the middle of the park.
Yeah, exactly.
He wasn't there for anything going forward, that's for sure.
And Glenn, we mentioned there, you said about bringing in Walker. So would you go to a 4-4-2 perhaps, or how would you fit Walker into that?
Do what we did last season, which was when he went like the Rotherham game, where he went 2 up top and just a hair behind.
Yeah.
And just try it. I just, for whatever reason, Alan doesn't work at the moment. He just seems to be brushed off the ball a bit. I think he went on a great run today, got to the edge of the box, and don't know whether he got fouled, but that seems to be a trait against him when he plays. Probably
on tonight's evidence, but
yeah. And then Shipley, I just don't think. I'm not sure with Shipley. I don't think his work rate's enough. And then obviously we've not really got anyone else to play that position who's fully fit. Maybe Bapaga long term might be an option.
Yeah,
but he's
definitely a player that could come into the fold, isn't he? Because he's young, he's exciting, he's not going to be scared or fearing anyone, and he's a player that I think hopefully Sky Blues fans, and we've mentioned him too many times probably already, and hopefully we don't put too much pressure on his young shoulders, but he definitely looks like he's got a part to play this season.
Yeah, I think the concern is just how I think certain teams who have like a very physical midfield against us seem to cause us trouble. Obviously, Lerma pretty much ran the show for them today. And I think the lad who came on for Bristol City second half, I can't remember his name, was quite a big, strapping, physical lad. And we tend to just get out-muscled and not compete as much in the midfield, which probably doesn't help not having Kelly available.
Yeah, exactly. And just before we let you go then, Glenn, any lasting words, anything that, about tonight's performance that perhaps you'd want to leave with the rest of us and the followers?
I think we were probably outschooled. I don't think that we were outplayed. Like I heard some people say that we're probably going to lose 3 or 4-0. And I thought we were in the game probably for 60 minutes and then a couple of just basic mistakes. And then once Hamer went off, it killed the game. But I thought we looked quite solid defensively. And we more than matched a team that were pretty much very unlucky to get relegated last season with the run of form they were on. So
yeah,
and they've got England internationals playing up from, so you can't compete with that.
Yeah, of course. Exactly. Brilliant, Glenn. Thank you ever so much for coming on this evening. Hopefully you'll be able to join us again in a future, Sky Blues Extra Live, and we really appreciate your input. Thank you ever so much, and I'm sure we'll speak soon.
Cheers, lads. Bye.
Cheers. Yeah, you made a really good point there about teams that are physical. Sorry, I need to get my charger plugged in, but I don't think I've got the room to plug my charger in, so I'm going to have to get an extension cable. But yeah, he makes a really good point. Because there are going to be teams that are very physical teams in this division. And how do we? The thing is, how do we stifle that out? And the way to do that is you play five in midfield, and leave an out ball. So did we try that for the first time this evening? It didn't work, potentially. But then you don't have your 2 wing backs bombing up and down in that sort of formation. So it's something to think about and something maybe to work on over the international break. Because you go up against the likes of Brentford and Swansea, and they've got some fantastic technical players. I mean, you see Ben Rama, was it last night or the night before?
Yeah, he's incredible.
What an incredible talent, and we're going to have to be wary of threats like that.
Dean, I'm going to let you put your charger on, but just while you're doing that, if you bring up a nice from another Dean Burberry, who's mentioned here about that.
1 second.
And it will also cover your face while you put your charger on. But Dean Burberry said, let's not forget we were pretty much playing a Premier League team tonight, and the step up to that level for the Sky Blues is just a step too far at this time. We played a great team who should be competing for the automatics. Dean makes a really, really good point. We've actually already touched on that this evening around the fact that the Sky Blues are their wage bill is around 2 million, £2.5 million. The Bournemouth wage bill is something around 90. The gulf in and the massive gap between those two is absolutely huge, and we do need to remember that, because at the end of the day, Bournemouth have, like we said 5 weeks ago, were playing in the Premiership. Coventry City, of course, playing in League One. But we are going to have to get to a point where we do match these teams at times. And maybe we were a little bit trying to be too cute. Maybe we should have gone more defensively this evening. But a great comment by Dean to remind us and everyone listening at home that, exactly, we did just play pretty much a Premier League team. Jonathan Brown, Dean, makes a really good point as well, and he's mentioned there about, am I thinking maybe to revert to 2 up top, but who would drop out? We spoke to Glenn, didn't we, Dean? And he seems to think that it would be a good point for Walker to perhaps come in.
Yeah.
And for one of those players to drop out in that section, probably Shipley, with O'Hare playing just behind. We've got a couple of guests actually still waiting.
We've got a lot of guests. Let's bring Joey in first. Joey, how's it going?
Yeah, not bad. Back to earth.
Just a little bit, mate.
Bump, really.
What's your overriding thoughts on the game this evening?
You still there?
You still there, Joey?
Is that back on? There you go.
Can hear you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, back to earth, a bit of a bump. There you go.
Yeah.
Just not used to losing, really. So it feels a bit worse than what it should do.
So how do you think we actually played as a team this evening? Do you think we were a little bit short in some of our team play?
Yeah.
Joey's gone again.
There's a few weak links. We have to be honest about Shipley. There you go. Yeah, a few weak links really. Without trying to pin it on anyone, I think Shipley maybe it is a step too far. I think Sheaf's, he's going to have to step it up. I think he's very slow on the ball. Godden very isolated throughout. So yeah, just around the pitch, there's just a few weak links that are going to need to step it up. I think against the better opposition.
Yeah, the Jordan Shipley comment is quite decisive across the Coventry City fans. Is he good enough for this level of football? Maybe not, or are we looking at it with sky blue glasses on? It's one of those things where he's one of our own, isn't he? So we can't be too harsh on him. But his performances so far haven't been up to standard, and he was dragged off at half time tonight, which I thought was the right thing to do. But what was your thoughts on Jordan Shipley's performance?
Yeah, I think it is just possibly a step too far for him. He's come a long way in a couple of years. The biggest thing I see, and I mentioned it a few weeks ago, is when he tries to take a touch, you can see that he's having to think about it. Whereas the Bournemouth players, it comes natural. The ball's to them, that they lay it off. He has to think, and you can tell that's why it takes him a few extra seconds to turn. And compared to last season, he was getting forward and shooting. He didn't even have an opportunity to have a shot tonight. So that element of his game, we don't see the benefit of that. So I think he's a weak link, and we're going to have to look at other options, I think.
So what would you do for our next game then against Brentford? We're going up against another team who lost in the playoff finals last season. They've still kept the nucleus of their squad. Okay, they did lose their top man up front, but they've still got pretty much the same side. They'll be looking for top honours again this season. So how do we stifle them? I
think Kelly comes back in. I think we need leadership in the middle. And then I think Allen probably comes in for Shipley, because I don't want to change the formation too much. That's what we've been doing throughout pre-season. That's what we've been doing for the last couple of years. So I don't want to suddenly throw Tilk front and go for a 4-4-2, because that could completely change the dynamic. And we've got to remember that up until tonight, I think we've been the better team in pretty much every game we played.
Absolutely,
Tonight was a big difference, and we have to look at it and think they are a class above. Brentford will be good, but not every side are going to be that level. So we shouldn't just suddenly drastically change it for one game just because we're missing one player. Yeah.
Okay.
So
go on. No, carry on.
But I do think, and I've said this about Robbins for a while, I think his substitutions, for me, when we need the goal, possibly put that extra striker on. You've got 2 strikers on bench, one of them who costs big money, and Bakayoko works his socks off. So is it not worth, in the middle of the game, to throw one of them on?
Yeah, I think it's a point I raised last week as well. Sometimes I do question Robin's substitutions at times, not just who he's bringing on, but at the times he's actually making them. So it's nice to hear someone else with that same opinion, because I got a little bit slated last week saying Robbins is doing the right thing. But yeah, what about the options we've got going up at the top end of the pitch? We don't have many sort of other attacking options other than Allen, O'Hare, and Godden and Walker. How do you change that up the top end of the pitch?
Well, it's tough, because I think the biggest thing, we're lacking pace, and you've got obviously 2 quick fullbacks, but when we're putting the balls over the top, Godden just isn't quick enough to get onto them. Yeah. Allen, Shipley, O'Hare, neither of them, or none of them, got pace, which is why I think he's got to start to look at Walker and Bakayoko late on in the games, because both of them are gifted with pace, a bit of power. I just think if we're the side that's struggling to get on the ball, we need an outlet up front, and I just don't think Godden is that outlet in games like tonight, where we are going to have one chance over the top. So again, if Brentford are going to be the better side, then we'll possibly have to look at putting Bakayoko or Walker up there just for a bit of pace on the counter attack. But it is harsh on Godden, because he's scored again, albeit a penalty. But if he's not going to get many chances, it feels like we're lacking a player in that position, because he's so isolated.
Absolutely. Well, Joey, thanks for joining us this evening. Hopefully you can come on again after a better result, cheers, shall we say, and we can have some positive chat. Yeah, thanks, mate. Agree. Cheers.
Yeah, some really important comments there, Dean, from Joey, who mentions that about the pace. But, I've got to shout out really for Godden, again, feeding on scraps tonight. Got the penalty, which, he started to put away. It's 12 yards, okay, keeper versus attacker, and we know all of that. But he started to stay focused and started to put that away. And he won a lot of headers in the air tonight, didn't he? There was a lot of flick-ons that perhaps, I'm not sure, again, we haven't seen enough of Walker, but would Walker be controlling that ball, bringing it down and sort of taking the edge off of the game at the time Godden perhaps did?
No, because he's a totally different player to what Matt Godden is. We have to kind of change up the way we play if we've got Tyler Walker up the top end of the pitch. Yeah, it's an odd one, because you say he's feeding off scraps. He's probably going to be feeding off scraps 80% of the time this season. There's only probably 6-7 teams that are around us towards the bottom of the division where we might get a free run of things. You look at last week versus Barnsley, we might be looking back at that result later on in the season going, we lost out on a couple of more points there.
Exactly.
It's those little things that are quite annoying.
I'm going to hit some comments, Dean, first. I know we've got a couple of people waiting, and we're definitely going to get everyone on the line this evening, and we really appreciate people holding fire, for us. Pete Janaway makes a good point here about Amer, who we still don't feel like we've been in discussions massively about the red card, but we have discussed it a little bit. I'm sure our guest in a second will talk about that point. But he mentions that he doesn't think Amer is a proper DM, but I don't think that's probably what he's been brought in for anyway. I think he's been brought in for a sort of ball-playing midfielder. But he's quite right. The further back that he sits, the more he's going to get dragged into these situations. And he is, like Pete says, a clearly tenacious player, and perhaps that is what's causing him. But at the end of the day, a midfielder at this level is going to have to play forward, backwards, side to side, Dean.
Yeah, and the only way you can sort of play him up front a bit more is if we pack out the midfield more and drop one of either O'Hare or Allen. That's the only way. But then again, he's not going to just completely replace them in their position. He's still going to be in that sort of central midfield role because that's his natural game. Okay, he might not be a defensive midfielder, but he's still that sort of tenacious guy in the middle of the park who can see a pass, who's got that technical ability to unlock a defence.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to see him playing off Godden or something like that. That's just not his game. Okay, yeah, maybe he might not be the pure defensive midfielder we wanted, but he's certainly got a point. He's certainly got the game to play in the central midfield. He'll just have to rein it in. It's as simple as that. And listen,
Yeah.
he got sent off tonight not for a stupid tackle. He got sent off his own stupidity. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got Mark waiting, who's going to come on.
Here he is.
Hi,
How you doing, Mark?
yeah, can you hear me all right?
Got your mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Very well.
Thanks for having me on.
First thing we want to ask you about, Mark, is obviously probably the big talking point and the one that's going to affect us the most going forward. Because the result, let's be honest, was one that we perhaps as Sky Blues fans thought was going to happen tonight. What we didn't probably think was that we'd lose Amer for possibly 3, if not more games. What did you make of the red card decision this evening?
I think Hammer was stupid in my opinion. I think it was a red card. I don't really have any complaints. I mean, I used to be a referee, so I know from experience that if a player raises their hands, it's a straight red. So it's a no-brainer. Unfortunately, the thing is, you look at the game. That was a big part of the game. Okay, we were 3-1 down, but you know, we still had time left in the game. There's 20 odd minutes left in the game. You know, if you get got that free kick. If you get it 3-2, say 10-15 minutes, bring a striker on. You know, Robin's got options. We're still in the game, and I think, unfortunately, let us down tonight. I think for me, when I look at the game over the course of 90 minutes, I think they were just better than us with the ball and without the ball.
Yeah, very quick, weren't they? The pace of their attacks were just so. They seemed to be a yard faster than us at times.
Yeah, I think Joey, the previous guy, made some good points about Shipley needing a couple of touches and he just looks off the pace. He to me, I think in hindsight's a wonderful thing, of course, but I would have started with Kelly head of Sheaf. I think Kelly's distribution is really good. I think he was giving us a bit more calmness on the ball because I felt like particularly first it's a bit like QPR, the first
didn't get going.
Minutes. We looked very sluggish and slow, and they were just so quick off the traps, and that's what frustrated me watching tonight. We were too slow off the traps. The first goal, I think Shipley or Hamer, probably more Shipley's fault. He was a bit slow to track back their midfielder. Fair enough, it was they scored a couple of very good goals. I didn't agree with Joey's comment about Godden, however. I think okay, he was isolated tonight, but he stuck his penalty away. You've got to keep him in the team. I think he's the best striker we've got in the club. I think the thing with the two strikers that my mate Jonathan was talking about earlier, I think if Hamer stays on the pitch and he doesn't do that stupid reaction, you could change things a bit. You could have got that second striker, bring on Tyler Walker. And then if we lose 4-5-1, doesn't matter. At least go for it. But 3-1, 10 men. I think Hamer, unfortunately. I mean, I've seen some comments saying that the referee was wrong to do what he done. But in my opinion, red card all day long. If it was a Bournemouth player on our player, we'd want the red card. So that's,
as a former referee, Mark, this is an interesting one, and I'm not going to put you on the spot here. But can you see anything being maybe even rescinded, or do you think that is literally it? You can't see anyone looking back at that thinking that the aggression shown by the Bournemouth player is that it? Do you think it's
just treated as a different incident? So
yeah, I think he handled it right. I think yellow card, although it's pushing the chest, and yes, at the end of the day, he's probably winding Hamer up. It's a bit like, it's almost like if you remember the World Cup in '98 with David Beckham when he lashed out. It's kind of like that. Although he looks really like petulant, and you think, oh well, that's a bit harsh. But you've got at the end of the day, it's a lesson he's got to learn, and I think that's something that Robbins will. People know at the end of the day. I mean, I went to the last season. I went to the kit launch night at the start of the season. I met the players, and the players have actually been on the referee's course, and they know what line they can't cross. And I think you look at the reaction. You see Hamer was disappointed, but you didn't see any of that other players sort of surrounding the referee. So they know. And
do you think the referee coming into the game was aware of Amer and perhaps, or do you think he's completely neutral, and or do you think that Amer has perhaps already made some noises in the Championship and referees will be talking?
Yeah, I mean they of course. I mean they know. they do their research like we all do before a game. Players, referees do a research. They know, you know, I mean, he's a very competitive midfielder. I think going forward is his strength. I think tonight I would have maybe played. I wouldn't have had Sheaf in the team. I would have had Kelly just drop a bit further back and maybe push a little bit further forward. I think he's good going forward. That shot in the first half, you know, really good shot, and I think his distribution is really good. I think there's some good qualities there. It's a rough diamond. I think there's a few things he needs to cut out of his game. He just needs to be a bit more streetwise. I think that's the way I see it.
An overall performance towards you know, for the Sky Blues this evening, Mark. Was there any sort of standout? Cal O'Hare obviously looked good again going forward. Was there anyone else that sort of stood out for you, and anyone else that perhaps worried you? Something that we might need to resolve before Brentford, who are going to be similarly as difficult, if not, you know, harder than perhaps Bournemouth.
I think I would say Dominic Heim at the back was man of the match. I mean, you know, the clearance off the line in the first half, you know, that helped us, because 2-0 would have been very. I mean, back, you know, I know it was the first half, that would have been a mountain to climb. Yeah, it helped us, that, and obviously the penalty got us back in the game. I think Shipley looked off the pace, sluggish, too slow on the ball, and you could see the difference when Bournemouth had the ball. They could, you know, they were passing through us. When we had the ball, it felt like there was about 3 or 4 people around you, and
always felt a bit thought out, didn't it? It looked.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we can't be too harsh to the players. As people have rightly said, you know, we've just come back from League One. You know, we haven't spent anywhere near the amount of what Bournemouth has spent, and that's a fair comment. And I think, you know, you know, me personally as a supporter this season, if we stay up and we build on it for next season, we get that experience in. That's a good season.
Yeah, and judge us on the Lutons, judge us on, you know, the Barnsleys that perhaps, you know, not that game.
Yeah,
but,
I think,
you know, judge us on those sort of fixtures, and even Bristol City. You know, we was more than accountable.
I think the tricky thing is how do we get that? Like, how do we got players on the bench like, you know, Bakayoko and Walker who could come on and make a difference, which is great. But then you got to think about the balance of the team. How do you balance that out in your field? I think that's my slight concern. As I say, I think if Hamer stays on and doesn't do a stupid thing, I would have stuck Walker on. If we lose 4-5-1, but we go for it, you know, that's fine with me, because I'd rather, you know, lose a game by trying to get something out of the game rather than just, you know, being defensive. And I think that just sucked the life out of the game. I mean, I think what I'd be, if I was Robbins and I'm in the dressing room tonight with the players, I'd be saying, look, you know, they're about 2 or 3 seasons ahead of us at the moment.
Yeah,
this is where we want to be. If we can just, you know, don't get too down about it. We go next week. We'll go whenever. I think it's 2 weeks' time. Because I think it's international break. But we go. You know, next game's Brentford. Well, Kelly comes in straight away. That's a no-brainer. It's a difficult one, because I would like to see Walker start, but then it's the balance, because of obviously O'Hare just playing off. Yeah. So how do you get that balance?
But he clearly needs minutes, doesn't he? And at the same time, Godden's going to be very, very difficult to drop. But like you say, I think all the Sky Blues fans would like to see Walker get some minutes to see what he can do. But then are we meddling too much too early? Who knows? But I think you make a good point.
Yeah, I think Walker's had he's had a bit of game time. He scored against MK Dons in the cup. He's got, I think, obviously clearly Robbins prefers him to say Biamu or Bakayoko. I think Biamu's, in my opinion, I would have him ahead of Bakayoko. I think Biamu, he's stronger, he's got a bit more pace. I think he could be a nuisance. Bakayoko, for me, the games I've seen, is a little bit too slow. He don't get me wrong, if you give him a chance, you know, in front of goal, he can stick him away. But
yeah,
I mean, okay, I went to the game. I know this is League Cup last season against Watford. Obviously, at the time we're Premier League. I watched Bakayoko, and he was just completely off the pace, very slow. And I think at this level, you know, teams like Bournemouth are not going to give you time on the ball. I mean, even the QPR game that we won 3-2. Okay, you know, first 40 minutes, we were, they were the better team. They were bullying. We're getting bullied too easily. I think we just need to be a bit more streetwise. I'd like to see Kelly come into the team. I think he'll make a big difference. I think we should see someone who's got a bit of a calming presence, who can knock the ball, and just I just felt like tonight when it was 1-1, you could smell them score another goal. You could see it.
Yeah.
Gosling had that chance before we scored, and he hit over the bar, and you think, every time we clear the ball, it's finding a red shirt. It's you could just see it happening. So I think, that's what I do. But I think Hamer. I think he had a bit of a disappointing game tonight. I think
he let us down.
Midfield is where we lost it, and I think that's the crucial area. And Bournemouth just played through us. But look, no disgrace. You have to move on up. It's not.
We go again.
It's not doom and gloom. Okay, we're likely to be down the bottom half of the table, or whatever. But it doesn't matter. It's only 4 games gone. Early days. Let's be positive. Yes, Brentford away is going to be a tough game next week. A couple of weeks time. But I think we just keep the same shape. As I say, I think it's worked. It's worked well before. We've played well in games previous. Barnsley away was one of them games where, yes, a point was an okay result, but it's one of them games. It's a shame that Ostergaard did hit the bar. You want that one to go in, because it's the sort of game, if you can nick a 1-0,
it changes it, doesn't it? And also changes the season.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's nice psychologically just to get that first win is good, because you think of other teams. You look at teams like Wickham, who
can't buy a win, can they?
They're getting beaten 4-5s. Nottingham Forest, probably bigger resources than us. Yeah, and they got no points. Sheffield Wednesday, minus 8 points, but they may came gone. I haven't seen too much of them, but I think we can be okay this season. I think we just need to be a bit more streetwise. I think distribution off the ball, we've got to be we've got to be better in possession, and I think Kelly will make a difference. That's what I would do if I was Robin. So.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mark, ever so much for coming on this evening and joining us on Sky Blues Extra Live. Hopefully we'll see you again in the future. And Mark made some really good points there, Dean, about the fact that it would be nice to see Walker come in. He mentioned he thinks that would give us a bit of a, but also a lot of love obviously for Godden, who continues to lead the line for the Sky Blues and continually to puts those goals away. Couple of more comments we've got. One from Jonathan Brown there. He says he thought that one of our other guests, Joey, spoke really a lot of sense and agreed with all he shared. We need to bring other attackers into the match later on to support Godden. It's a tricky one as it will change the dynamics of our style of play. Mark and Adi will get it right. He believes in them. Do you think that it was an odd sort of situation to bring Sam McCallum on? I mean, it was only 4 minutes to go and he probably just wanted to give him a run out. But to me, it's 3-1. All right, we're probably not going to win the game, but probably bring a striker on, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I think that he probably had the idea to bring someone else on before Amir got sent off. The only reason he probably brought Sam McCallum on is that's one appearance. And then they probably agreed with Norwich he has to make so many appearances as well. So
always speaking sense, Dean, because that's not something I thought about. And we've got someone else that's been waiting really patiently this evening, so let's make sure we get Rick on the line.
Rick.
Dean.
How's it going, Rick? You're muted at the moment, Rick. You have to unmute your mic, mate. There we go. Let's see if I can do it. There we go. Rick, how are you? No, I can't hear you, unfortunately. Let me just try. Let me try and unmute you from my end.
We're just trying to get Rick on, and just as we're doing that, I'm just going to read a comment here from Nigel Woodcock that he mentioned, as long as we learn from the game tonight, I'll take a loss against a team of that stature. Again, absolutely right. A lot of people have been saying this, and yeah, we do need to. Bournemouth are a Premiership team. They've not had, they've had a lot more time than us. We've obviously, they played pretty much all the way through. The Sky Blues obviously had some pre-season fixtures, but have been in training, but have not had as much time on the pitch as Bournemouth. So we do need to think about that. And obviously, we've spoke financially. They are, there's a lot of, on financially, there's a lot more that Bournemouth can do. Dean, do we think?
No,
should we try and bring Rick back in a second, or are we going to try and?
Let's just pop you out for a sec, Rick, and see if we just try speaking again now for us. No, it's not working for some reason, Rick. Oh, that's gutting. Do you want to reconnect and try again? If you go to the sbe.live me and try again for us, and see if you can get back into the stream. That's disappointing. He's been there for ages, bless him.
He has, yeah. And look, there's always going to be some teething issues at some point. We hope not. Glenn Watkin made an interesting point here, Dean. He said about Robbins has said after the game that Amir hasn't spat. I'm sure he wouldn't come out and say he had, but or sort of slapped Cook, and he's just touched his face. It's a big talking point, that red card, Dean, and it's obviously a big worry now for the Sky Blues going forward.
It was just stupid, Dave. I mean, I know it's his first year in the Championship. You can't raise your hands in any league in Europe. You're gonna get penalised for it. He should know better. All professional footballers should know better. I'm sure they watch other football matches on TV, and they always see and they always hear the commentators go, "You can't raise your hands. You can't raise your hands." Okay, Cook raised his hands, but it wasn't in the direction of his face, was it really? So
No.
A little bit of game knowledge from Cook there. Obviously, he's a bit of a stalwart in that Bournemouth side. So yeah, he got away with one, but. You go back to that challenge beforehand. I mean, for me, that's completely reckless, dangerous, and it shouldn't be happening. I mean,
yeah.
I've seen people go down for less,
haven't we?
Dave.
We've got to be, yeah, well, I'm sure. But, we've got to be a bit more cute, haven't we? And we've got to learn that you can't get away with that sort of thing. I know times, things boil over and whatnot, but it's really it's one of those leagues, one of those, live on Sky as well. I think, the referee's probably got that in the back of his mind.
Oh, yeah.
And if he's on, and I'm not saying he's done that.
I think it was 3-1 for a red card as well at any point during the match. So.
Fair enough, yeah. So, but no, it is. It's live on Sky. You're a referee. You've seen that happen. You've got to. The rules are that if a player raises their hand, then they'll be sent off. It's just a massive shame. Not even about the sending off. The game's gone. We've lost that. It's just a massive shame about what's going to happen now to the Sky Blues, and they've lost. Let's be honest, the most creative player that we've got this season
against three of the teams that are going to be at the top end of the Championship, and we need some creation in them. It's just, that's our luck as well. Don't forget, we've had some pretty bad luck over the last couple of games as well. Second balls are not falling to us. And you need your fair share of luck in this division, and so far we haven't got it really. I don't feel, but yeah, you look at those three matches. How do we change it up to match them? And I think the only way we can do that is play 3-5. That's the only way I think we can, 3-5-2. But that does mean if we're going to try and get Walker into the game with Godden, then we have to drop O'Hare or Allen, and then you lose your out ball.
Yeah,
it's just a very, very odd situation that we find ourselves in, because we can't play with wingers because we don't have any. We can't play a standard four in midfield.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're relying on your wing backs to be your wingers. Plus, they've got to defend because our three centre halves can't cover the whole pitch. So we're in a bit of a sticky situation now, because we've lost our big creative presence in midfield, and the only way to change it is by going 5, and that's so defensive minded. It's not the way Robbins and Vivash will play.
No,
or want to play, shall I say?
Exactly.
It's a very negative way of playing football, but perhaps we need to do that sometimes in this division.
Yeah, exactly.
Our aim this year is to stay in the division. Make no bones about that. We have to stay in the division somehow.
Yeah, of course. And let's be honest, that one thing that we need to reiterate, and we have, and we always do on the podcast, and we speak about this, but the Sky Blues have made a fantastic start to life in the Championship. They have, picked up a draw against a team that is going to be in and around the same positions that they're jostling for. They've picked up a win against a team that I know you said at the start of the season you felt QPR will struggle, but
they're a cemented team, aren't they?
They're a solid Championship side, and many would have thought that even though we were at home, that would have been a difficult. And we plucked a fantastic win, and we wasn't too far away against Bristol City. Some sort of naive at times defending, and we've covered all of them points. But life looks positive. You could see the gap tonight. But then again, they've just sold one of their strikers for however many millions of Callum Wilson that used to play, of course, at the Sky Blues. You look at the players they've got, it's a massive, massive gap, isn't it? And they've been playing at that Premiership pace throughout. They haven't had a gap, and we've come up from a division that wouldn't have been playing that sort of football.
It was only 2 calendar years ago we were in opposite ends of the football pyramid.
Yeah.
So, that just shows you the golfing quality between the squads.
Yeah.
We're feeding at the sort of the bottom end of the pond, really, of players, whereas they're pretty much eating from the top table.
Exactly. Been some great comments tonight, Dean, from the followers, and it's great to see. And apologies if we haven't been able to get round to all of them. But I'm not going to try and pronounce this one, but there's a comment here about Gibello, which I just want to touch on because I think it's very interesting. Where will Gibello fit in? I think he's got a role to play. I think he's an exciting footballer. I think he's got great feet. He's got pace that we probably need at this level, and that we're not actually showing perhaps at the moment. You've got Giles, you've got Dabo, Allen at times, I guess. But other than that, there's not bags of pace in there. Do you think Gibello's got a role to play for the Sky Blues this season?
An absolute massive role for me, because he gives us a different option, and that's what we're lacking, options. He's probably perfectly poised to take this division by storm, really. He's pacey, he's got good technical ability, he's strong as well. He's got all the attributes that a good winger in this division has. I mentioned it after the QPR game. We need someone like Isaiah Samuel, like they have. Yeah. And our Gibello is our Isaiah Samuel. Now, people are talking about Isaiah Samuel. He could go by Monday. People are sniffing around him. We've got someone like him who could take this division by
similar
storm.
Player, yeah.
Absolutely. And League One might not have been his level, really, because you need a certain type of player to get out of that division.
Yeah.
And maybe Gibello wasn't the type we needed.
Yeah.
A bit like we had the problem with Ruben Ramirez a couple of years ago. He's probably a Championship type player. But that's why we got rid of him, because we were going into League Two. He just didn't suit the style of play, and that maybe Gibello is our man to suit this division.
Interesting enough, Dean O'Hare, actually, we spoke about this actually recently, and in League One, he got absolutely popped down, didn't he? A lot. He did get sort of taken out on quite a lot of occasions. And now he's probably found his level. And that's the same. League One, don't get me wrong, he was fantastic for us and got us out of division, let's be honest. But at the same time, it still wasn't his league, was it? He was getting chopped down every week. He was getting injured. He got cuts on his head. He looked like he'd been in a wrestling match, didn't he? Most matches. And actually, this level is probably more for someone that's got a bit of feet and can play football and gets a bit more time on the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. I wholeheartedly think that he's the man. And Jermaine Castanier as well. He's got pace to burn. He's aggressive. For me, let's get him in the side. Let's just throw him in. Let's try something different. I know I love Jermaine Castanier. Okay, I'm going to get him on my shirt, which hasn't arrived today. My shirt hasn't arrived.
No.
I ordered it within about 2 minutes of it going online. I see all these other people have got dispatch emails. I haven't even got a dispatch email.
No, I haven't had my email yet.
It's an absolute joke.
I'm looking forward to it, and I think the pictures look great, don't they, of the new kit?
Yeah.
It sounds really weird, but you see the pictures that the club take, and they're all. But actually, when you see them on just people's normal pictures on their iPhones and whatnot, actually, I think they look really good. I think we should have another. We should.
Let's try to get Rick back in, Joey.
Get Rick, yeah.
Let's try again,
he's been
Rick.
Great at waiting.
Rick, are you there? Oh, it's trying. Do you want to unmute yourself, Rick? No, you're still muted. You have to press the unmute button. Try again.
Oh, nearly.
Try now. No, it hasn't worked again.
That's incredible, isn't it?
What's going on? There's not a little mute button on your headset, is there, Rick? Is there a little cable on the side with a mute button on? Looks like a Logitech headset to me. Which might have a...
What we'll do is we'll speak to Rick before the next Sky Blues Extra Live, and we'll make sure that we get him on the show, Dean, because he's trying incredibly hard. We feel absolutely awful, but I think it's probably, maybe we can speak to him off air and see if we can resolve that, because it's so odd that it's not working. Generally, all we ask our followers to do is have a headset of some description, iPhone, and again, Dean will say other devices or headphones are available.
It's a technical disaster, Dave.
But it is, but it's exactly. And to be honest, Dean, on that bombshell, in the words of Alan Partridge, but no, I think we'll probably bring the Sky Blues Extra Live to a close this evening. It's been great to have so many of our followers on, hasn't it? And
awesome.
Great
really
comments
good.
as well. Obviously, some unfortunate circumstance of the Sky Blues going down 3-1 against Bournemouth, a red card for Amer, which we hope will not turn into anything longer than 3 games, even though that is enough. But just to leave the followers at home with any final thoughts from yourself, Dean, before we go off this evening.
Yeah, it was a poor performance, no question about that. But we're going to have times this season where it is going to be bad, and we're going to be sort of backs against the walls against teams that are much better than us. It's as simple as that. Let's just not get on their backs, and let's keep spirits up, and we'll win our fair share of games in this division, but we'll lose our fair share of games. It's as simple as that. And tonight was just one of those nights.
Of course, brilliant. And as we say, do make sure that you join in with the conversation. It's Sky Blues Extra on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And do keep an eye out for our podcast. We'll be recording that this weekend, and that will be out ready for you to listen to on Monday, where we'll talk about the game in much more detail, go over some of those massive talking points, including the Amer red card, the penalty for Godden, and the goals that we conceded. And where does Robins go from here now to plug that gap? Looking forward to the fixture against Brentford after the international break.
Play up, Sky Blues.